Hey guys, so I wanted to start out this video a little different. So it's going to be a little bit of a longer video. Today I was planning on talking about anxiety. But as an aspiring author, one of my groups on Facebook, which there's a ton, so if you are an aspiring author, just look for groups on Facebook. They are amazing. One of the other authors in the group wants to write a book about depression and how to deal with it, symptoms, blah, blah, blah. So the person posted that they want to write about depression, want to write a book, but they've never experienced it. And so they want to start with what are the symptoms and how do you experience it? First of all, kudos to them. They are so lucky they don't have to deal with mental illness on their own. But it's a little bit of a touchy subject for me because I deal with depression daily. Even though my anxiety manifests itself more, depression is real, and I do deal with it. So, I'm going to read what I wrote, and I would like you guys to comment and share and like it if you think that any of this is valid. Please note that if you don't believe in mental illness, fuck off. And if you leave negative comments on my videos, I will block and report you, because it is real. This is not a conspiracy theory or an excuse. It's real. It's a chemical imbalance. So if you don't believe in mental illness, you don't believe in science. And in that case, I don't want to know you as a human being. That's just me being completely honest. I know you guys don't usually see me with my glasses on because I literally cannot do makeup with them on, especially doing my eyes. But anyways, here's what I wrote about depression. After I read my little blurb, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my makeup. And we're doing green today, which goes great with brown eyes. Just saying. And I'll tell you a little story about me and depression and one of the worst ways it had manifested itself. Disclaimer, it's many years ago, and if you are in a relationship that involves abuse or have left one, this may trigger you. And that is not my intent, but I do want to put my story out there. You're not alone, peeps. You're just not. And if you ever need someone to talk to, holla at your girl, because I got stories. Okay. Here's what I said in my author's group. He specifically asked for symptoms and not in this exact word, but how they manifest. He was also not a native speaker of English. So here we go. It's my phone. I don't know if you can see. I'm reading from my phone. Depression is not just crying in a corner. Depression is not just not eating. Depression is not just not socializing. For me, depression is sleeping a lot. I overeat and underperform. I write a poem or three. I run away. I want to punch people and things. I rarely cry, so if I do, my body is finally allowing a physical release, which is amazing. I am snappy and irritable and don't know why. I am super easily triggered. As I don't do things, it looks like procrastination. It's not. Not doing them triggers my anxiety and PTSD. So I look like I'm in a manic bipolar stage, but I'm not bipolar. Yes, as a side note, I have been tested. Depression for me is also lacking the physical and mental ability to put stuff away. Anxiety is being terrified that my cleaning is never good enough. Depression tells me, why bother? You'll just make another mess anyway. With meds and counselors, it's still a constant and daily thing. What I'm trying to say is that all mental illnesses are chemical imbalances that can manifest themselves in different ways and be dealt with differently. There's no right or wrong way to deal with it, but it must be dealt with. I am getting mainly positive feedback in my groups about this. But there are people who have literally said, this sounds like an excuse to be lazy. Get over it and get off your ass and do something. God, I wish it was that fucking easy. I guess trigger warning. Sorry if I'm swearing. YouTube makes you post before you can even post a video, mark if it's meant for children or not. Talking about mental health issues, I think is something that you should talk to your kids about from a young age so they're aware of them. That being said, children also sometimes do what they think you want them to do or feel. So if you think that your child is not ready for this conversation, please don't share my video with them. Because I do talk about mental health. It is a thing that matters. It is very, very real, and you have to acknowledge it, deal with it. If you're against medications, I don't quite get it, but that's because medications help me. I do know that there are a lot of holistic measures that you can take if you're more into the natural route. That's totally cool. Do you, boo? I ain't judging. I just know that for me, a lot of those holistic things were like taking a placebo, which is a sugar pill. Basically, it looks like your medication, but all it does is raise your blood sugar a little, and it has none of the actual intended effects of the medication. And it can often lead to a sugar crash, which makes you think that the meds have just completely died out of your system. It may be, but if you were given a placebo, that's what it does. It makes you feel euphoric, and then you crash and burn, and that's exactly what a placebo does. I do sometimes use, I guess, technical terms in this environment. If there's ever anything you don't understand or you want clarification on, please drop it in the comments or send me an email. My email is on my link tree. I think I did that right. I'm really new to having a YouTube channel, so I apologize in advance if I did something wrong. Help. Yeah, so depression. Today we're going to talk about depression, and it really does manifest itself in lots and lots of different ways. And I can't stress enough, my depression's not your depression. Your depression's not your daughter's depression, or your son's, or your cousins, or your coworkers, or whatever your relation is to the person that's dealing with it. So if depression for you, let's just say it's what was I gonna say? If let's say depression for you is not sleeping for days at a time. Yes, insomnia is a thing. Doesn't just come from anxiety, doesn't just come from stress. It can come from depression. There's another way it can manifest itself. So let's say for you, it's just a matter of, okay, today I can't really get out of bed. I'm depressed. First of all, I wish it was that for me. It's not. And if that's what it is, like you're just in bed for a couple days and then you wake up, you feel fucking fine. Cool. But that doesn't mean that you're friend, cousin, coworker is going to have the same thing. And even if they do, it could manifest for them differently. Like they're literally in bed, but they can't sleep. Or each day they wake up and feel like maybe they have suicidal ideations, which means that they have suicidal tendencies or want to end their own life. Again, manifests itself differently for different people. And especially on the subject of suicide, many, and I mean many people still think it's very taboo to talk about it. And I guess to an extent it is, but suicide is something I have personally dealt with, not my own suicidal ideations. I'm too stubborn to die, to take my own life. Like, no, bitch, I got too much shit to prove to too many people, and it's just not gonna happen. But other people, it definitely can manifest itself that way. So, one of my first dealings with the word suicide was honestly when I was too young to understand. I lived a very sheltered life as a kid. And I'm grateful for it, but I'm not, because I really wish I had learned some stuff sooner, been exposed to different things. But, you know, my mom did her best, and I cannot blame her. She was a single mom, divorced. It's a whole nother story. Anyways, kudos to her and kudos to my family. But there are things that I wish were done differently, which should I get the chance or an opportunity to ever have children, I'm hoping to be able to change certain things. Anyways, so my mom was in college, and she had this really tight-knit group of friends. I think there were like 5 of them that were in the core group, and then other people that they, you know, associated with. So one, and I'm gonna change his name for the sake of this. One of them, his name was Gary. I called him Uncle Gary. He was great with kids. He was a really warm, loving guy. Not super social, but not antisocial by any means. Gary, Uncle Gary, whatever you would like to call him at this point, amazing guy. I thought he would be one of the ones that's like always around. So did my mom. So did the rest of the group. Sadly, this will not be the case. When I'm about 8 years old, my mom gets a call. And it started out that the hey, how are you? Is ha ha, he, hoo hoo, you know, like close friends do. But it certainly didn't end with ha ha's and hee hees. A lot of hoo hoos, but in a different way. My mom ran, and I do mean ran, from the kitchen to her room. Now, mind you, this is before cordless phones. So she had to put the phone in the kitchen off the hot hanger. Thank God for the cords back then. And then she ran to her room and yelled for someone to hang up the phone. Yes, people, we didn't always have cell phones or pagers or cordless devices. Those did not always exist. So she ran. Usually I would follow her into her room. I might have been even younger than 8, honestly, guys. But she told me not to in this case. She told me to stay outside with my grandma. Grandma lives with us still. And it was a huge part of raising me and still is a big part of us. So I remember her crying. My mom and I are not big criers. It's just, it's not really our thing. We tend to try to hide and bottle up things. Not healthy. I know. But, you know, we'll deal with that part of it. Anyways, so she was crying and crying. Crying. I mean, you could keep adding the word crying until you're done with your own crying. Okay? I mean, it was bad. And I, as a child, had no fucking idea what's going on. My mom does not cry. I had probably seen her cry a little bit here and there before, but, you know, as a child, your parents are gods. So to see her and hear her crying from the opposite end of the house, yes, it was an actual house, it was kind of a big deal and kind of a shocker for me. You're wondering what I'm doing. I'm trying to find a specific brush, and that brush is evading my fingertips for some reason. Okay, found it. So, she was crying. My mom is a very strong woman. Very, very strong. Sometimes too strong. Y'all, she cried for 3 days. And by cry, I don't mean just like tears coming down her face. I mean like she cried, like bawling, crying, and she didn't eat. She didn't go to school, didn't go to work. Couldn't. And physically just could not bring herself to do things that she needs to do. She still loved me and cared for me. I mean, we're not talking about that shit, but like, she wasn't my mom, the mom that I knew. That's hard for a child to understand. She cried so much, y'all, that she got a fever. Fever. Okay. So yeah, she cried. That is definitely depression, and it is justified. If depression was ever needed a reason, eventually I found out that Uncle Gary had killed himself. Uncle Gary is not going to come over anymore and make me laugh. Uncle Gary is gone. He went to heaven. If you believe in heaven and hell, he went to heaven. It's a lot. It really is. I still think about that and I get sad. Because it is sad. So that's my first acknowledgement of bipolar and manic depression, and there is a difference between manic depression and regular depression, I guess, and also with what I have, which is called major depressive disorder. What that sounds like is I'm always sad, but I'm not always sad. I don't really get sad, actually. It's the not eating and the not getting dressed and the not doing my face and the not doing things I should be doing. Not just by societal standards, but like literally, like getting up out of bed, everyone should be able to do it. Basic things. Sometimes it's brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, washing my face. You get it, right? So he had killed himself. He had done it in a somewhat violent manner. His parents were both psychologists, psychiatrists, and they could give him medication. I think he was supposed to be taking it and didn't. But his parents also believed that they could cure him and that he should not feel sad. His parents were well-to-do. They were not struggling financially. Like, at all. But he had a really bad episode. He was also gay, which was still not super accepted at the time. This would have been around the early 90s. Anyways, he had a really bad episode and went in his car with a hose. And also, he lit the house on fire. So he committed suicide, I guess, 2 ways. While his parents were out of town. He lived with them because, he was in school, which is pretty normal. Today, yesterday, 20 years from now. Luckily, no one else was hurt. Like I said, his family was out of town. They were on night vacation. And they came back to that. They got a call, I'm sure. So that is a form of manic depression. That is a horrible situation. So I'm gonna go on the internet and see if I can find something to help describe the differences for you guys, because they are different. What is the difference between depression and manic depression? Let's see. Okay, well, let's start with this. The question, Google auto-populates a lot of things. So the question that it populated for this particular search is, what does it mean to be manic? What is manic? Manic, the word manic describes times when someone is bipolar. Someone with bipolar disorder feels overly excited and confident. These feelings can also involve irritability, impulsive or reckless decision making. So, shopping is one of my manic things, I guess. Not bipolar, but when I get really bad, I shop. I shop and I shop and I shop. Do I have the money for most of this? But that's what I do. So that's one part of this. What does it mean to be manic depressive? Bipolar disorder is formally called manic depression. It's a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings that include emotional highs, mania or hypomania, and lows, depression. When you become depressed, you may feel sad or hopeless and lose interest or pleasure in most activities. So, literally, you can't have one without the other. Manic depression is bipolar disorder. I did not know that it had been renamed, but it does make sense to me. Things often get renamed over time, and that's normal. I have a liver condition I was born with, which is why my eyes are yellow. And that's been renamed more times than I can count. Like, literally. And there's only like 6 articles ever written on it. So it's really, really rare. I'll try to explain it in another episode. But today we're talking about depression. This is depressing, talking about depression. But it is something that needs to be addressed. Apparently there's 4 types of bipolar disorder. For more information on those 4 types, the website that I'm getting this information from is called talkspace.com. According to the American Psychiatric Association, there are 4 major categories of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1, bipolar 2, cyclothymic disorder, and bipolar disorder due to another mental, medical, or substance abuse disorder. I didn't even know. I knew there was bipolar 1 and 2. I didn't know there was more. So, okay, type 3 is cyclothymia. It's a mild form of bipolar disorder. It's unofficial as bipolar 3. It has persistent or recurring changes to and from mild depression and hypomania. Normal moods do not last more than 8 weeks. Cyclothymic disorder does not have dramatic mood changes. Cool. So, this one is a form of bipolar disorder, but it's a more mild form. But it seems to be very consistent also, or actually more sporadic. I'm learning with you guys because that's what we do. We learn together. Together, we are stronger and we are better. So, I want to talk about me a little bit. So you guys know I'm not lying to you about my depression. And I already said this may be trigger warning, so if you are being abused, have been abused, this may trigger you. In 2006, I was engaged to what I thought was a really awesome guy. We were madly in love. I do hope he's doing well. I still wonder, because I really did love him. Anyways, we were engaged. I was renting a room from this Filipino family, which I love them to this day. And They knew he was older than me. I was 19, he was 26. There was all sorts of beer and other illicit things there. He decided to have a Filipino beer. I forgot concealer. Oh well, we're gonna do. He decided to try Filipino beer for the first time. My boyfriend or fiance was white. I'm Persian, and at the time I was too young to drink, and I did follow those rules. Anyways, I did other things. He decided to drink and mix it with those other things. He mixed Jack Daniels, I believe it was called Red Horse, and Corona and a few other things, plus the illicit things. Now, mind you, we found out later, like later, that one of the cousins of the family that I was living with laced the greenery with some white powder that's not flour or sugar. So that probably caused part of the reaction because it's not something he did or I did or we were really around. I guess his dad did it when he was in Vietnam, but that's many moons ago. So if you know history, you know what types of illicit things were used overseas during that wartime. I'm not going to go into details about that. Anyways, he mixed it all. And we were very much in love. He was 26, who is very much of age to make his own decisions. He got so drunk that my roommates, or whatever you want to call them, took his keys and said, "You are not going home." And they don't typically allow overnight guests, like it was anti the roommate policy. But they said he is way too drunk to get behind the wheel of a car. And so they took his keys and said, "No, you're going to stay in Nina's room tonight." Well, do you have a choice? The couch or her room? Considering you're engaged, we assume you're going to go to her room. Then they were right. He came into my room. We got naked. Started getting intimate. And I was like, "Oh shit, let me lock the door real quick." So I went, literally, I turned my back, took 2 steps, locked the door, and turned around, and he started beating me. No history of violence, no history of abuse. So it was very much a shock to me to deal with that. He beat me and bit me and pissed on me. For 3.5 hours straight. He called me names. He choked me. He hallucinated at some point and literally thought I was one person who's dead and one who's not. His ex-fiance is the one that's not dead, though I kind of wish she was at that moment. The other one was an uncle who died at war. And his dad was his dad's brother. So he beat me, pissed on me, bit me, choked me. I did fight for my life. That's why I'm still here. He is not dead. I actually just recently found him on social media and freaked out. So, I couldn't even, it was summer. I couldn't wear low-cut shirts. I couldn't wear things that were exposing me at all. I had to be very covered because this whole area, like a necklace, had bite marks all over. I had hickeys too. I don't mind the hickeys. It was him trying to bite my skin off of my chest. That I minded. It was the ligature marks from his fingers around my throat. I minded that. It was me not knowing what the hell to do. It was me now having to sleep on a piss-covered mattress. Yes, it dried. It was summer. But that night, it did not dry, and I had to sleep. He fell asleep in the piss-covered bed. I was too afraid to sleep in the same bed as him. My room was tiny, but it had a walk-in closet, which was pretty cool. That's where I was the rest of the night. After he fell asleep, I went and took a shower at like 3 in the morning. I never take showers at hours like that. I did. Took a shower at like 3 in the morning and 4, whatever, 5. I don't remember. It was a really odd hour for me. Because I wanted to clean off all the piss and other fluids. I cried a lot from the shock of being abused for the first time in my life. Sadly, it would not be the last. I then went into my closet, my walk-in closet. And I remember I put on a purple turtleneck, 3/4 sleeve, whatever. Turtleneck in like June. I put on a turtleneck. I live in California. Summers get pretty hot. Put on a turtleneck and pants. I don't remember. I think they were jeans. And I had a pile of dirty laundry because I didn't have a hamper yet. I think mine had just broken. I was trying to get a new one. Yes, this is before Amazon, guys. It's 2004? No, 2006. February 26th, 2006. Anyways. He beat me. He did those things. He called me the devil. He called me lots of colorful names. I mean, colorful names. I don't remember much from the next 3 months. And there are a few incidences that stick out in my head because they were so bizarre. And these are stemming from this incident. Yes, police were involved. Really don't want to talk about that part. Anyways, so I was still living in the same place. I lived in an apartment complex that was right next to a hospital. And their ER. And it was a busy Kaiser hospital. It has since moved from that exact location. So the apartments are still there. The Kaiser is not. I don't know what's there. Anyway. I sleepwalked into the middle of Kylie, which is a very, very busy street. And stood in traffic. One of my roommates saw me leave at like, I don't know, 4 in the morning or some shit. I walk into traffic. And she knew that's not very like me. So she chased after me into traffic and brought me back in the house and then woke me up. Because when you sleepwalk, you should never wake up the person during the episode. You should get them to safety first, because that can actually cause worse things to happen. So I apparently was trying to kill myself. I got really lucky that I had roommates who cared. Just saying. And then within the same week, within a few days of that incident, I walked into the kitchen to get a snack. Sleepwalking, sleep eating. Again, I'm not aware of this until after the situation happens. I took a really long curved blade, similar to like a butcher's knife, kind of, except not a butcher's knife. And I took it and I pressed the tip into my belly button, holding the handle and pressing the handle into the kitchen counter. Again, roommate gently woke me up, was freaking out herself, got the knife away from my stomach. This next form of extreme manifestation of my depression was not that much longer later. I went to stay with my mom. I stayed with my mom because I needed to deal with things and I didn't know how to. I'm 19. I've just been abused. It's a lot to deal with. So one night when I go to, and this was during the day, I went to go take a nap. I was tired and I had just been through quite some stuff right there. I laid down to take a nap. Mind you, at the time, at my mom's, I had to share a bed with my grandma because it was a 2-bedroom. Mom had the master, but she had a twin. So, and we had a queen in the other room. So we shared the bed. I almost didn't wake up from that nap. I don't know how you all feel about out-of-body experiences. Like, I don't know if you believe in them, but I do. I really experienced one that day. My soul left my body for about an hour and a half. No, I'm not kidding. No, I didn't take illicit drugs. I was sober. Always am at my mom's. I left my body for an hour and a half. I visited different parts of the world. Somehow I have knowledge about things that I don't quite understand consciously. So I left. I turned blue. Somehow my conscious caught up to my subconscious, like, bitch, you need to come back to reality. You need to come back to your body, or we're gonna go up to heaven. So I came back because I didn't want to actually die. I guess it's called astroplaning. Tis what I did that day. I astroturfed or astroplaning. Yeah. Those would be like the most totally extreme forms of how my depression has manifested itself. I'm trying to find a lipstick shade to finish off this one. Why is it always that the color that you want is hiding? Yeah, I'll explain that to me. Anyways, that's two very sad story time about depression, about how I literally deal with it. I have dealt with it, how my body manifests it. This is a super long video. I'm so sorry. Anyways, yeah, that's depression. It is depressing. It's not super easy to talk about. Mental health never is. This is the finished look. And this is my first talk on depression. I'm sure it won't be the last. If there's something about depression that you want to know, please do not hesitate to reach out. Depression hotline. There are many hotlines out there to help you if you feel like you can't talk to me, or your friends, or your family. One of them is called the Back to Wellness program, and it's 818-805-0841. Suicide hotline. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a hotline for you to talk to people about your suicidal ideations. They're available 365, 24 hours a day in English and Spanish. The number is 800-273-8255. In California, if you have a smartphone, you can use the short code and dial, not text, dial 211, and it will give you help for resources for mental health and homelessness and other things of that nature in your county. Let me see. Mental health hotline. There's a lot of apps and other things out there. they can help. There's lots of hotlines. I don't have all of their information, but there's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and they are part of the Department of Health and Human Services. They are a government program, but they can also help you. They are based out of Rockville, Maryland, and their number is 1-877-726-4727. I'm just Googling this stuff, so I'm more than happy to help you with whatever you need or don't need or just want to you. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. I'm here to spread awareness and let you know that it's okay and you're not alone. I have other stories about suicide and depression. I've dealt with it quite a bit in my life through others and my own. So before I break down and ruin this brand new beautiful makeup, which I need to set, I'm gonna go. I hope that everyone has a beautiful and blessed day. Stay safe. Deal with it. It's okay. Know that people are there for you. And you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone. And with that, I bid you adieu. Bye.